If there's one thing that audiences love, it's a good comedic duo. You've got Chris Farley and David Spade, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim, Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith, aka Jay and Silent Bob. And those are just a few of the countless comedic pairings who have entertained the masses for nearly a century. In 2006, MTV introduced viewers to a duo that was comprised of a professional skateboarder, Rob Dyrdek, and his personal security guard, Christopher Boykin, aka Big Black, who also happened to be his best friend, with a TV show called Rob and Big. But a strained relationship between the show's stars and a bit of behind-the-scenes tension brought the series to an abrupt end, which we'll be discussing on today's episode of Looking Back. If you were to tune into MTV right now, chances are, Shaq would probably be trying to convince you to purchase a car insurance policy with the General. But shortly afterwards, you would likely see Rob Dyrdek standing on a stage, commentating videos pulled from the internet, on one of the network's most successful TV shows to date, Ridiculousness. But believe it or not, Rob Dyrdek wasn't hatched in a lab at MTV, and there was a moment in time when he wasn't a household name. Born and raised in Kettering, Ohio, Dyrdek first stepped foot on a skateboard at the age of 11. About 1 month into his newfound hobby, Rob approached pro skater Neil Blender while he was leaving a skate contest. In a short exchange of words, Rob persuaded Neil to give him the skateboard he used during the contest, his GNS Skateboards Pro model.
So this is my Neil Blender board. I got this in about 1986. A month after I started skating, I went to a contest and he was getting into a car packed full of people, and I said, I don't think there's room for that board. And he said, you're right. And I remember this day it coming at me in slow motion as a child. I rode this thing for like a year. As you can just see, it's just tattered, but it's just the pure Neil Blender. You know what I mean?
After receiving the board, Rob's skateboarding hobby quickly became a lifestyle. Just about 1 year later, he landed his first sponsorship with, and I'm not making this up, GNS Skateboards. Over the following decade, Rob would have a hand in several skateboarding brands, such as Alien Workshop, Reflex Bearings, Silver Trucks, and DC Shoes, the latter of which released a skateboard video in 2003, simply titled The DC Video. The DC Video was easily one of the greatest skateboarding videos of that decade, and possibly of all time. Most notably, the Danny Way part, where he soared through the air like a madman, breaking records in the process. But one of the most memorable portions of the video showcased Rob Dyrdek expressing his absolute disdain for security guards and police officers, who constantly threw him out of different spots while trying to skate.
I'm sick of cops, I'm sick of security guards. From here on out, I'm bringing a security guard to deal with security guards, cops. I'm over it.
Moments later, we're introduced to a hulking man wearing a windbreaker printed with the words Dyrdek Security, sitting behind a desk with a name tag that simply read, Big Black, Personal Security. And just like that, a legend was born within the skateboarding community. So how did a pro skater and a security guard come to meet? After deciding to hire a security guard to deal with security guards, Rob went to a security agency in San Diego, California, and simply asked for a big, lovable, cool security guard. They had just a person in mind. Christopher Boykin grew up in the small town of Wiggins, Mississippi. After graduating from high school, he served in the U.S. Navy between the years of 1990 and 1994. Upon leaving the military, Boykin worked various odd jobs, eventually turning to full-time security by starting his own company. Rob and Christopher met one another around the time that the DC video skit was filmed, and their chemistry was immediately noticeable. This unlikely pairing quickly bonded, and a friendship was born. Shortly after the release of the DC video, Rob and Big Black participated in the Gumball 3000, a 3,000-mile celebrity car rally that is held on an annual basis. Their experience was documented and included in a DVD called Gumball 3000, 6 Days in May, which only further hammered home the level of chemistry that the duo had. Rob would then approach MTV to pitch a reality TV show that surrounded the daily life of himself and his best friend, Big Black, with a working title of Rob and Big Black.
People, let me tell you about my best friend.
MTV wasn't interested in the slightest, instead agreeing to develop Rob Dyrdek's Rules to Success, in which Rob would go over various ways to achieve success in life and business.
And they ended up buying the show Rob Dyrdek's Rules to Success. And we shot the pilot and it was shit, except for when I go off script. And then Shane Nickerson came over And then he pieced it together and was like, you need to just let these guys be themselves. And then it circled all the way back to Rob and Big for the pilot. It was originally Rob and Big Black, and the network wouldn't let it be Big Black. And in the beginning, like when we would hear Rob and Big, it'd be like if Jackass was called Jack A.
Premiering on November 2nd, 2006, Rob and Big took the concept of The Odd Couple and mixed it with the reality of a pro skater and his personal security guard turned best friend living under the same roof. Rob and Big obviously played a big part in the creation of the show, but Jeff Tremaine, most known for helming the Jackass franchise, and Ruben Fleischer, director of movies such as Zombieland, Venom, and the Gumball 3000 movie that Rob and Big participated in, also contributed to the show as co-creators. The series is a bit dated by today's standards. The first season alone has references to the website MySpace, fashion style straight out of a Young Jock music video, and a live performance of the song Stay Fly by the 3-6 Mafia. But the one thing that hasn't aged a bit, the comedic nature of the show. The introductory scene of the show involves Rob coming home to find Big Black swimming in the pool, wearing only a jockstrap.
Do you have socks on?
Oh shit, no doubt, man. You gotta cover the fins up, baby.
Athletic supporter.
Yes.
You don't have a bathing suit.
Nah, I don't. What, you want my meat in the pool? I can go Blue Lagoon on you.
I mean, it is what it is.
The banter between Rob and Big in that segment is a perfect setup for the show, and gave the audience a taste of what to expect going forward. While the dynamic of Rob and Big was more than enough to keep the show entertaining, there were several recurring guests, such as Rob's cousin and personal assistant, Chris Drama Paff, Big Black's friend and fellow security guard, Rashawn Davis, also known as Bam Bam, Mini Horse, also known as Mini G,
Smoke weed every day.
and last but not least, the true star of the show, Meaty the Bulldog. Not to mention, one of the best recurring guest stars the show ever had, Uncle Jerry.
Right, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, Rob. We're gonna do it.
Big Black's eccentric relative from Mississippi.
Gotta do it, man. Know how to do it, don't you, mate?
Everything.
Gotta do what we gotta do.
Who really shined on the Bobby Light episode, a timeless classic.
Everything ready for the night. Pimp this way. Dirty girl. Dirty girl. Dirty girl.
I'll be like this. You a dirty girl. You a dirty girl.
You a dirty girl. You're a dirty girl. You're a dirty girl.
Despite the fact that Rob and Big was a massive success for MTV, the series ended suddenly after only 3 seasons. The reasoning that the show gave for its abrupt end was that Big Black had a baby on the way, and he would have to move out of the house that he shared with Rob as a result of this big life change. Over the years, more information has come to light, and we now know that this was only part of the truth. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to how and why Rob and Big ended, so we'll go over each co-star's reasoning separately, followed by a look at what led to tensions building up between them. For Rob, he was worn down by living on a TV set, as his house was overrun by production equipment used to film the show. In an interview with Johnny Knoxville, he compared his living situation to Pee-wee's Playhouse, as he only really had one bedroom to himself. Every other room in the house was dedicated to equipment used to film the show. Even Big Black's room was basically a set piece, as a few years later, it came to light that he didn't actually live with Rob during production, but rather lived in his own apartment nearby. Rob also didn't just want to be known as Rob from Rob and Big, as he felt he was more than just a TV personality, with his pro skateboarding career and various business ventures that he was involved in, which took a backseat as he gained more notoriety through the TV show. As for Big Black, he had many concerns, but it seems that he was mostly disappointed with the amount of pay that he received during his time on Rob and Big, compared to his co-star. This is a tough one, because there's a lot of mixed information in regards to how much pay each cast member received during their time on the show. While appearing on the Fighter and the Kid podcast in 2016, Big Black stated that he was paid $35,000 per episode, whereas Rob reportedly made about $60,000 per episode. Though Rob also claimed that they were paid equally during an interview with Graham Bensinger in 2016.
And also, I mean, wasn't there like a financial end too? Because I mean, while you're viewed as kind of equals on screen because you're, co-stars of the show, I think were making more money than him. He thought that was unfair.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
but also
not really.
what the
In
viewer...
that era, we were paid the same in that era. Yeah.
Okay.
Clearly, Rob didn't want to throw MTV under the bus, so he quickly backtracked his statement. But in all fairness, Big Black stated in the same interview with The Fighter and the Kid that the contracts the duo had signed led to pay discrepancies, as they didn't negotiate with MTV as a duo, but rather separately. Big Black also reported that towards the end of the show, his weight was becoming a problem, as he weighed nearly 450 pounds, and his health was declining as a result. And even though the show was called Rob and Big, Big Black increasingly felt as though he was a sidekick, not a co-star. For Rob and Big, it seems that shooting a reality television show for 9 months straight and nearly 13 hours a day had taken an extreme toll on their friendship. For the show's third season, MTV demanded that the series go from a total of 8 episodes per season to 15, and also hired writers to come up with plot lines for each episode. It's no secret that reality television isn't actually reality. Most of what you see is planned through writing, or cast members are coached off camera on what to do and say. But Big Black explained that most of the situations in the first 2 seasons were developed on the fly, leading to a much more organic experience for not only the cast, but the viewing audience, which helped fuel the success of the show. But with success often comes egocentrism, which both Rob and Big have admitted consumed their friendship during the later stages of the series. Rob has taken credit for writing a lot of the ideas and concepts for the show, whereas Big Black didn't want to be involved in the creative process. This apparently led to on-set tension, as Rob felt as if he was the mastermind behind the show, and Big was just along for the ride. I'll leave links in the description to all the sources that I've obtained this information from. My intention isn't to take sides, but rather to ensure that you, the viewer, has all of the correct details. Despite the difficulties that plagued Rob and Big towards the end of its run, MTV wasn't eager to abandon Rob, and he wasn't ready to turn his back on them. In 2009, Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory made its debut. But unlike Rob and Big, the show didn't revolve around a duo, but rather an ensemble cast that worked out of a massive complex, a converted warehouse made up partly of office spaces, and an area designed for skateboarding and various activities. No longer did Rob need to worry about film crews occupying his house, which, funny side note, the house featured in Rob and Big was actually sold to Blake Anderson of Workaholics fame in 2013. On Fantasy Factory, Rob was joined by his cousin, Chris Drama Path, Drama's brother, Scott aka Big Cat, Chanel West Coast, and producer turned on-screen personality, Jeremy Larner. I'm not going to lie, once I found out that Big Black wasn't involved with Fantasy Factory, I had zero interest in watching the show. That is, until the 4th season, when it was announced that Big Black would be making a return to TV with his debut on Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory. Apparently, I wasn't alone. There was a noticeable boost to the show's ratings after Big Black made a comeback. It was so clear that the magic from Rob and Big was completely missing without him. Prior to Big Black's return, he and Rob made up, and all the salary disputes were handled, effectively making any and all discourse between them just water under the bridge. Unfortunately, Christopher Big Black Boykin passed away in 2017 due to heart failure as a result of a heart attack, sending shockwaves to fans all over the world, especially those of us who grew up watching Rob and Big or Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory. Rob and Big was especially important to me, as it was one of my favorite TV shows during my teenage years. And even though Big Black has passed on, I'm thankful that we can always go back and watch the shows that he was involved in, and relive those great moments. That'll do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you feel so inclined, please give the video a thumbs up and click on both the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you on the next one.